Hi everyone. So one thing that's been really cool about getting my book published, I'm getting all these questions suddenly. Hey, I'm thinking about writing a book. Is it worth it? Is it possible? How did you get your book published? So I figured I'd just make a video and talking about my road to getting my book published. So getting a book published starts with writing a book. I had this idea for a fantasy story that popped into my head about 10 years ago, maybe a little more, and it was just an idea. So that idea rattled around in my brain for a little while, and then I eventually started researching, how do I write a book? How do I start? How do I write a novel? How do I plan? How do I plot? And so it starts with research, figuring out how do I take this idea and turn it into a novel. Let me know if that's something you want to hear more about. At some point, I might make some videos about that. But wait a minute, there's a lot more work to be done before you can publish. So the first thing you need to do is finish your first draft. So you may have heard the expression that every first draft is perfect because all it has to do is exist. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. So the biggest thing is just getting your first draft down on paper. Once you've got your first draft down, then you can go back and start revising it. There may be some really big glaring issues that you need to fix before you even think about line editing or fixing, your grammar or spell checking or any of those details. So you want to make sure that the internal logic of your story works, and you want to make sure that your character arcs make sense and that they're satisfying. You may find an entire chapter that just really isn't even necessary. That was definitely the case with my novel, and I cut a whole chapter out. It's gone. So once you've gone through and you've revised your first draft, you have a second draft. At this point, you may be wanting to get an outside opinion, beta readers. So what I did was I sent PDF versions of my manuscript to a group of about 10 people. So I didn't send it to 10 random people. I sent it to people who I thought might actually enjoy reading this kind of story. And I even put in 1 or 2 people who I thought might not enjoy this kind of story. I wanted to gauge their reaction as well. So that being said, there's probably going to be a couple people who don't finish your manuscript. I had a few people drop out at one particular part. That in itself was some good feedback that I took, and I went and I changed that part of my novel to make it more exciting, to make it easier for readers to get through. After you've gone through the beta reader process, maybe that's the time when you might consider going to an editor. So I actually have a friend who I work with who is an editor. That's what she does for a living, but she was also interested in reading my manuscript, and she gave me some really good feedback. I was able to take a lot of that feedback and apply it to my manuscript. There were definitely a few things that I was on the fence about. Should I go with this? Should I not? Don't forget that this is your story. An editor can help you identify things that you may want to change. They have a lot of experience. Don't ignore it. Don't blow it off. But at the same time, don't follow it blindly, because you have a unique perspective. You have a story that you want to tell. The editor is not in your head. They don't understand what you're trying to get across. So there were some items of feedback that I got from the editor that it was clear she didn't quite understand what I was going for, and that's my fault. So I didn't do a good job of communicating the idea I was trying to get across. So again, I ended up problem solving. How can I get this idea across more clearly? So once I got through that process and had been through at least 4 revisions, my first draft, my second draft, my beta readers, and an editor, I was ready to put it out there. So I submitted to agents and I got nowhere. I had no interest. A big part of that is because I had no platform to market from. And from what I understand, that is kind of a big deal. So I eventually participated in a Twitter pitch party, which is a great way to get your story seen. I actually have an entire video about my experience with Faith Pitch. So I'll put a link to that below if you want to know more about that. And from that experience, I got 3 small traditional publishers who are interested in my manuscript, and I signed a book deal. Yay! That's the story of how I got my book deal. So if there's any questions that you have that I didn't answer, put them in the comments below. I would love to answer those questions for you and talk more about it. If this video is helpful for you, make sure to like and subscribe, because I'm going to make a lot more videos talking about my process, talking about the writing process, talking about my journey to publication, and whatever adventures may come. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.